What is going on? David Lyon here, founder of Evolving Men and Embodied Creators. What I want to address in this video is the rise of the masculinity, polarity, male potency coaches that I have seen over the past few months. So it's a phenomenon that there are more men that I see who talk about how to be a real man, how to have polarity with your partner, how to step into your power, how to make more money, things around these topics. Just more men showing up and talking about these things. And I've had a lot of conversations with people who had different kinds of responses to this phenomenon coming up. And so in this video, I want to share my perspective of these coaches and teachers. I want to share what I appreciate about them, but also what I see differently and where I see like the potential for actually something harmful or not healthy being taught. Let me first share with you a little bit of my background and how I relate to some of these topics. So I've been working as a coach and facilitator with men for the past 4 to 5 years on topics like how can I connect to my purpose, how can I become more deeply embodied, how can I take more consistent action towards the things that matter to me, and how can I create the relationships that feel juicy and nourishing to me and show up in a way that feels like I'm in integrity. And then I have explored the pickup community. So for those that don't know what that is, that's basically men all over the world exploring the art of seduction, learning how they can approach women who they might not know at all, and how they can create a sense of connection, trust, intimacy. On the more darker sides, like how can I have sex with as many women as I can and want, and like what do I need to say, do, so that women want to have sex with me. So this is something that I've explored about 5 years ago, and I learned a lot from it. I really enjoyed it. Like, for anyone who hasn't tried, approaching someone who you feel attracted to in public is an amazing thing to do. It's going to bring up a lot of stuff, and it's very liberating to actually learn that, whoa, I can do that, even though it doesn't seem to be socially acceptable. And then for the past 4.5 years, I've been in a relationship with an amazing woman, and especially recently, the last year, we've explored the topic of male-female polarity a lot. It's something we're very interested in, and I would say I really enjoy taking the masculine role in this relationship in a playful way, and just having fun with these male to female dynamics. And the reason why I wanted to share these things is just to say that I'm not opposed. I'm not like opposed in an absolute way to what these men are teaching. There are actually points that I find very interesting. So let's look at like what is it that some of these coaches, teachers, and so on are actually saying. So on some level, what they're saying is just be a man again. Allow yourself to be the man in the relationship. Allow yourself to lead. Be the container in your relationship. Be the one that sets the frame for your partner, for the feminine, to be receptive and to be open and to surrender to you. And many of them also say that men have become feminized, that men are not men anymore, and that there's like a role of reversal going on, that men have become more like women and women have become more like men. And that is the reason why relationships are not working any longer, why both men and women are dissatisfied. And so their solution is, hey, connect to those masculine qualities again. Allow yourself to be the man. Allow yourself to lead. and in a way return to a certain way of being that once was much more clear. That it used to be very clear what it means to be a man. Nowadays, like, no one knows anymore. Let's go back to some of these like more traditional concepts of how a man is supposed to show up. And I actually think that most men can learn something there. I think it's very helpful to give yourself permission to be edgy and to be polarizing. So to step out of this constant people pleasing of having to avoid confrontation, having to avoid that people don't like something about you, allowing yourself to really stand in your truth, stand in your power, and connect to some of these more masculine qualities of leading, of being grounded, of saying what you want, of giving clear directions. So those are all things that that I appreciate, that I've learned a lot about in the last few years, and there are definitely things that I can still learn about. And to add one more thing, it's to be direct, to be blunt, to say what's on your mind, rather than like being like, oh, is this the right way to say this, right? Like, a lot of people these days feel very cautious about what to say because they might upset someone, they might trigger someone, they might not be politically correct. And so there's something for me very healthy in being like, just say your freaking truth and deal with it, that people will be triggered, will not like you, and so on and so forth. Now, here are some of the things that I see critically or differently than how some of these men teach this kind of stuff. So the first thing that comes to mind is the way they talk about relationship dynamics between men and women is oversimplified, and it does not contain the whole picture. It focuses on particular dynamics that are kind of specific to, like, you're a man and she's a woman, and her feminine essence wants you to do this or that and is turned off by some other things. And so what's missing for me is like a bigger picture, like a context in which this is happening, and saying, well, this is one dynamic that is happening or can happen in relationship between a man and a woman, but it's not the only thing that's going on. So when you hear these men talk, you kind of get the sense of like, this is all there is when a man and a woman are in relationship. And that's just not the case. It's like one layer we can look into is this dynamic, man to woman, polarity, the feminine in her and the masculine in him, and how they want to dance, which again is a beautiful thing, is wonderful to explore, but it's just that there's so much more to relating than this, which it's not a problem to talk about a specific thing, but I think it's important to name that. It's like, I'm not painting a full picture of what it means as a man to be in a relationship with a woman. I'm going to talk about very specific aspects for you to explore. Now, on that note, there's something else that I want to share that is like an exploration point for me in my life and for many people around me. And my mentor, Gregor Steinmaurer, he talks about this a lot. So the way that he names this is the split between power and love. That we all, men and women, carry around the split around power and love. And for men, maybe it's especially strong that we feel like we can either choose to have power and to assert ourselves and to be directive and to be strong and to be seen as a leader, or we can open our hearts and be the sensitive guy and the, taking in a lot from the outside and feeling a lot and being connected to the beauty of life and so on. And my work in my own life with other people and so on is a lot about healing the split, is actually realizing we are both. We're both power and love. We're both heart and balls. And so these oversimplified polarity teachings, in my view, often perpetuate this split between power and love. And they basically tell men, stop being such a wuss, stop being so sensitive, and just grow some fucking balls and take action and be a leader. Now, it might be useful at a certain moment for a man to hear this and to take action on this and to learn something about it. But at some point, there's gonna be there's a necessity for an integration to be happening between power and love, between your ability to assert yourself, to get what you want, to take action, to be out there in the world, and your ability to feel and to be connected and to be sensing what other people around you are feeling. Like, we are not complete if we just live one of these two. But the way that a lot of these polarity teachers talk about it, they perpetuate the split. They basically say, man, go back to your power. And the last point that I want to share on kind of my criticism on this is why? Why does a man want to be more masculine? Where is this coming from? Is this coming from a place of choice and of play and of like, hey, I appreciate all of who I am and I want to explore my masculine side more and I want to be more directive in my relationship? Or is it actually coming from, I feel miserable, I feel ashamed of myself, I feel like I'm not good enough, and so what do I need to do to be appreciated by other people and to feel good again about myself? And so my sense is that a lot of men who want to be more masculine and who want to take more initiative with women, they're not coming from a place of choice, but from a place of, this is what I have to do to be acceptable as a man. And that is not a healthy approach for me, because ultimately, what's interesting to me is appreciating all of who I am, all the different facets, and whether they meet any kind of idea of what it means to be a man or what it means to be the masculine pole in a relationship or not. To be honest, I don't care. If I'm able to fully love myself and to have the full spectrum of who I am available in every moment, that's what I want. I don't want to just be masculine, cut away some aspects of me in order to fit some kind of image or have some kind of juicy experience, because again, we're again at the point of the split between power and love. And so my work and my intention is about healing those two. Now, that does not mean that you cannot be masculine. It simply means you're not masculine at the cost of something else inside of you, right? As long as I feel like this is what I have to do in order to be good enough and accepted and the man that she wants, and I have to repress something else, there's no integration, and it's not coming from a place of freedom and choice. It's coming from a place of shame, of tightness, and of not being good enough. And that for me is not a healthy motivation to evolve. It's actually gonna get you more stuck eventually. And finally, I want to zoom out with you a little bit. Zoom out. And just look at this emergence of these polarity teachings and so on from a greater perspective. And so here's what I see. I'm not saying that's like absolute truth, but it's an interesting way to look at it. We're living in times of chaos and upheaval and change, where a lot of old structures are crumbling. We're living at a time where what is true and what isn't true isn't clear any longer, which is really disorienting. And like one way that I look at this rise of these particular teachings is that in times of chaos, there's a kind of impulse to return to an earlier order. So it's like, well, what's happening right now? That's not good. That's not really, like, it doesn't feel supportive. So let's go back to something else that worked previously. And there are different ways you can look at it. Like, yeah, we definitely can bring back certain qualities that were more present in the past. At the same time, there is no going back in life. That's just not the movement of life. Life always moves forward. So that is like one kind of red flag that pops up in me is when I hear some of these teachers, and I mean, you can apply that to other areas as well, talk about going back to something. You cannot go back. Like, it just doesn't work. The only way to move with the flow of life is to accept what is happening right now and to integrate it into something greater. So life only moves forward, and also life moves towards greater complexity. Life doesn't move towards more simplicity. Look at us human beings. Like, everything that came before us in terms of animals and plants and stones and whatever, the complexity from the very first living beings to us, it kept on growing. And so this is going to keep on happening. So this idea of like, let's just return to like simple, you're a man and I'm a woman, it's just not going to happen. We've gone through things in the last few decades that have cracked open certain things, that has made us question things that have been kind of settled for a long time before. And so what we can do from here is to take the learnings from this questioning and transform it into a new order, into a higher order, into a more complex order. We cannot just say, okay, this whole questioning, this whole feminism thing, this whole men exploring their emotions, blah, 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 that was all like the wrong direction, let's just turn back. You can try, but you're moving against the flow of life. So rather, let's look at what has happened over the last decades, see what's good about it, see what's not good about it. Also look at like, more traditional ways of looking at a man and a woman and seeing what is healthy about that and what we want to change about that. And then synthesize these two into something new, right? So there is a big difference between let's go back to something or let's synthesize different kind of movements that have been happening. So for me, that's like a very basic way that I look at life. Nothing that happens is inherently wrong. It's a matter of what I do with it. So when I hear people talk about feminism or certain things that, whatever, like certain ways that men are behaving these days, is like, this is just wrong. For me, that's not an integrated perspective on life. It's more like a black and white thinking. It's like, this is how things should be, and how things are is not good. So what I want to do is to move away from that and see the beauty and the intelligence of what is happening, see the dysfunctional, and then be open for a new order to emerge, which again is very different from saying, let's just go back to something that used to work. That's just not going to help. All right. And so with that, I'm wrapping up this video. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on what I shared. If you found this useful, please share it with other people. And yeah, I look forward to conversations around this and just to be part of the evolution of figuring out, like, where are we going as a humanity? I'm not saying I have all the answers. I just feel compelled to share my perspective and then see what happens from there. All right? So read you in the comments. See you on future whatever gatherings and so on. Sending you much love and talk very soon. Ciao, ciao.